In 2026, you do not want to do these things when building your house here in Zimbabwe. Building is one project where you just have to do it right the very first time. You can't afford to be having many mistakes when building, because that is going to cost you a lot of money. People, they keep losing money repeating the same mistakes that have been happening all those past years. So if you are watching this video, this is definitely a sign you're on the right path. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. To my returning viewers and subscribers, thank you so much. Those who are watching me for the first time and those that haven't subscribed to the channel, you might want to consider doing so, because my aim is very simple: to help you navigate and secure your dream house in Zimbabwe without any hassles. Let's look at mistake number 1: building your house without an approved plan. Why are you building your house without an approved plan? Okay, this is on urban areas mainly. Why would you build your house without an approved plan? This is the very first stage of the building itself. Some people, they are being deceived or being told that, well, on this development, there is no need for you to be getting an approved plan. You can just build. Guys, make sure you have an approved plan when building your house. Besides the issue of people saying that I will just pay the fine when my house is finished, there is no guarantee that the council will say everything is correct with your house and then they give you the certificate of occupancy. Sometimes they'll tell you that this house is not up to standards. It has to be redone. Demolish it. You can't occupy it. Then what? You would have wasted your money on something that you could have avoided. And also, let's look at the issue of the legitimacy of the stand itself. Well, it's life. You can be one of the unlucky people in life and you get a stand that has issues and a whole lot of things going on. This is another way of you finding out that there are issues with your stand when you go with your plans to get approved. So instead of you losing money for getting the stand and buying the house, as painful as it is, you can manage to make informed decisions before you proceed in losing more money. And also, for those that follow me, I made a video on the new changes on building plans. So make sure when you're getting yourself a plan, you are getting it done by someone who is in the category of the people who are allowed to do so. We are no longer in the era whereby anyone would just wake up, design, draw their plan and go with it to the council. It's no longer happening. Things have changed. Mistake number 2: poor planning or no planning at all. When you are building, it's not just about having a lot of money in your pocket. You do not want to get into this project without fully understanding what you're getting yourself into. Yes, you might be having all this money, a lot of money and everything, but if you're not careful, you'll lose maybe half of that money on things that you weren't supposed to be losing your money on. So make sure that if you are embarking on this journey, you've done all the researches that you can. If you're somebody that you don't have time, or this is just something that you cannot handle, maybe the pressures and everything, or you just don't want the stress of it, just make sure you engage someone to do that for you. Get yourself a competent engineer, project manager, etc., to just manage your projects. Also, there's a difference between someone who's managing your project and someone who is watching your building being done. These are very different situations. You know, oftentimes we hear people saying that, well, this is a lot of money to be paying someone to be just looking at your house when it's being built. You need to understand what you're getting yourself into, because you might have a lot of money, but if you're going to in blindly in this project, you will lose nearly half of that money without getting tangible results. Moving on to the next, we have unrealistic or incomplete budgeting. This is the very biggest mistake that a lot of people keep making over and over again. I understand we are different, we come from different backgrounds, we see money differently, we value money differently. But when it comes to building, as I was saying earlier on, it's not just about money. At times you have to be realistic with yourself. Fine. Let's say, for example, I managed to get 40,000 US dollars, and I've seen a very beautiful house a friend have built, and they just told me that they built that house with 40,000, and I want the very same thing to be on my house, and I want to use that very same amount. But that's not going to be the case. It is going to be different. And this is where I see a lot of people making mistakes, and they're fighting with their builders, their contractors, their carpenters, because you are basing on what a friend told you, and you are telling yourself, this is enough. I was told they built their house, they used this money on this stage. Why are you saying on this stage it's supposed to be this amount of money, this amount of money? So this is something that you have to be realistic about when building your house. It's not about copy and paste. You can't copy what A did and you want to paste what to do on your piece of land. The circumstances and the underlying conditions, they are very, very different. So make sure you are realistic and you do the complete budgeting when you want to build your house. Moving on to the next, we have cheap materials and cheap labor. When building, there are what are called non-negotiables. You can't play around when it comes to quality of these things. We're looking at the cement itself, the steel, the timber. These are things that you can't afford to be gambling with. Why are you gambling with your house, with your future? You can't afford to be building a house that will be in a bad state or a condition after just 5 years. You can't be doing repairs every now and then when building. So make sure that the things that you're going to get when building your house, you're looking at the quality, not the price. As they always say, cheap things are cheap for a reason. It is cheap today, but you're going to pay the price of it later on. So make sure when you're buying your materials, you go for quality, not quantity. The same thing applies to the people that you're going to engage when you want to get your project done. The people that you're going to have on your team are going to determine the outcome of the house itself. They're going to determine how your house is going to come out, like its strength, the outlook, the aesthetic itself, and the condition of the house itself. So make sure the people that you're engaging, they know what they're doing. A lot of people will say that so and so, they're expensive, this builder is expensive, this carpenter is expensive. But would you want a builder who comes cheap and then they do a shady job? You'll see later on, you just go and look for that expensive carpenter to come and correct the mistakes that the cheap one made. And this is going to cost you a lot of money. So make sure that when it comes to the selection of your team members as well as the materials itself, you're not just looking at the price. You are looking at the kind of services that you're going to get, the quality of the materials that you're going to get. Oftentimes, we hear people saying that, why do I have to pay so and so for this kind of money? I know A, B, C, D who can do it for a cheaper. I have a friend that I saw doing A, B, C, D. They're very cheap. This one is expensive. But going down the drain, you would find that the people that they mentioned, somewhere, somehow, there was something that happened. So at times you need to be very careful when selecting the materials as well as the people that are going to be on your project. Moving on to the next mistake, we have ignoring the soil conditions. Zimbabwe, it has a whole lot of different soil types. We have clay soil, we have sandy soil, we have expansive soil, just to mention a few. So make sure that before you start with the foundation, you know the soil type that you are dealing with, because the last thing that you want is to have problems with your foundations, or later on when your house is up, you now realize the floor is not even, there are cracks, some doors they're actually even failing to close, and all those whole lot of problems. And also, the foundation itself is one stage that you can't afford to make mistakes, because if you get to the stage whereby you need to make repairs to the foundation itself, it's going to cost you a whole lot of money. This is just one stage where you just have to get it correct the very first time. So make sure you do not ignore this stage. Well, in some areas, a lot of people, they just see and copy what the neighbor is doing. Oh, this is the foundation that the neighbor is doing, so let me just copy. But it's not like that. In some cases, you might be lucky, but it's not always the case. So it's just always in your best interest to just do the right things if you don't want to have problems later on. Moving on to the next mistake when building, we have overspending on finishings before the house itself is complete. This is the part where I was talking about being realistic with your budget. When building, there are some things that can wait and that can always be done later on. So there's no point in rushing to do some finishings before the house itself is complete. If you can afford to do that, if the budget allows, happy days, go ahead and do so. But then if you're not sure on your budget and things are not moving the way they want them to be moving, it's always best to have the house completed first, and then you can now go on and focus on the finishings of the house. Moving on to the next mistake, we have poor site management and poor security. This is one of the biggest ways in which people keep losing their money here in Zimbabwe when building. At times, you just have to be realistic and true to yourself. You know and understand the area in which you're building your house. You know the security is not tight, it's not maximum, and you want to be buying your materials at one go and put them in the very small cabin of yours, which only has one small padlock, which even a starter thief can open. Some of these things, they are not necessary that we make ourselves go through. If you notice, this is the situation on my stand. At times, it's better to buy the material as you go. When you get to A, B, C, D stage, you order materials for that stage. You do that as you go, as you go, as you go. And also, even the cement itself. At times, you don't need to buy a whole lot of bulk cement, because at times, the conditions in which you're keeping that cement, it might end up getting moisture, damaging the cement, and then it means you have to replace that cement, and then it means more money again. So it is very important that you know and understand the premises and you do what's in your best interest. So the biggest mistake that people keep making when building their houses in Zimbabwe that I've noticed is failing to plan. People think that having a whole lot of money is going to clear their path of obstacles. But when it comes to building, you need to plan, you need to go in detail, you need to be patient, and you need to have the right kind of professionals on your side to work with. And also, you cannot be doing copy and paste. Building is one project which is different. It is not going to be the same, even if the design of the house is the same, the size of the land is the same. It is not a one-size-fits-all. So for those that have managed to build their houses, you can help those that are just getting started in the comment section with obstacles that you have encountered or things that you wish you would have done better, and then things would have moved differently, or you wouldn't have made the mistakes that you made. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Until next informative video, cheers.